Two-headed right, two heads are better than one-headed right. Two heads are better than one-headed right. Two heads are better than one-headed right. Two heads are better than one.
You ready to start?
Yeah.
Hold the cup.
You told me to drink the orange juice. Hi! Welcome back to our channel. My name is Evelyn.
My name is Monty.
And together we are the Two-Headed Writer, a father-daughter writing team based out of Stillwater, Oklahoma.
And we are together today in the very same room due to social distancing. I know that sounds backwards, but Evelyn is usually at school in Iowa, studying creative writing and
English and creative writing.
Okay. Evelyn is usually at school, but school is closed, and so she is at home. So good for us, bad for Evelyn's social life. Every week we get together and update each other on where we're at with our own writing. I'm writing in 2 novels. Evelyn's writing 2 novels. We 3 novels. I've written a short story. Evelyn writes short stories. Evelyn writes poetry, but she won't admit it. And Evelyn is also writing for her school studies, so we talk about that.
Not really that much this semester. Oh, I need to talk to you about my Beatles class. Fun fact.
Beatles class.
I have assignments. That
She
you
had
can help me on.
she had first semester dinosaur class, second semester the Beatles. Why wasn't college this fun when I went? I'll start by asking you the question I know the answer to. Have you done any writing this week?
Not any writing on my works in progress, although I did, do some weird, journaling sort of things that, I don't know, I'll probably look at them later and be like, that's usable, this idea.
Weird journaling is good.
Yeah. I've been reading a lot. That's last week I said that, and I was like, I'm gonna get back into writing, and then I didn't get back into writing because it's taken you longer than I expected to.
What? No.
Finish.
No.
It has.
No. You can't pin this on me.
I'm not
you cannot
pinning on you.
say
No,
I didn't. No.
Because I was planning on working on our book this week, and that didn't happen.
Oh, I'm so sorry. You cannot say I said I was getting back into writing, but I didn't because you. ... Whatever comes after that is wrong.
Well, no. So I was planning on getting, working on our book, getting through the 4 parts in 4 days, and then handing that off to you, and then going back and working on my stuff.
Yes,
and that didn't happen.
You can be flexible and do
things
in a different order. Phew. So I've asked you.
Don't talk to me when I'm scratching my nose. So I know you've been working to finish the final few chapters worth of edits on our book. Have you been doing anything other than that, writing-wise, this week?
Oh, other than that? No, I've still been obsessed with my crazy idea about building a platform where people can write choose your own adventure stories, and the author can be influenced by the reader. Well, I always think I'm getting close, and then I talk to your mom, and she says, well, you need to do this, this, and this. So I was getting close to being able to invite some people to come and try it out and see if it's working. As far as actual writing is concerned, I have been putting in 2 hours a day on our book.
And how is that going for you?
Well, I'll tell ya.
Slowly.
It's a little frustrating. I am working on the next to the last chapter, and it is a challenging chapter. It has been every time we look at it.
We've had our big, finale moment. Evil has been super dude, and we are trying to wrap up all the little like threads satisfyingly, and then get them out of the world and back into our world.
Right. So the last chapter, we're getting them out of the world and back into our world. So that's a little bit easier. It's like we have a task to try to accomplish. It's not entirely clear we'll be able to do it, but little obstacles come in the way. But we, the reader knows we're going back home.
There aren't that many chapters left.
We're not going to leave them in Ethermore. Maybe we should. This next to last chapter, it's wrapping up a lot of things in the other world. This is a portal fantasy, so we're in this fantasy world. We're wrapping up things in that world that need to be wrapped up. I mean, I don't think we can just leave them undone. The reader will be like, what about this? And we'll be like, oh yes, but it wasn't that interesting to talk about. And the reader will be like, oh, but it was interesting to me and you didn't talk about it. Yeah, all the drama, all the dramatic questions have sort of been answered, so all the air is out of the story, and then it just gets boring reading it. My challenge has been, how do I structure this so that there is some character development happening, some questions that keep you interested in reading on, and we don't just sort of peter out there at the end. So, yeah, I thought it might be an interesting topic to go into a little bit. This, how do you end a novel?
I mean, I just think endings are kind of hit or miss. Like, I know there are a lot of really good books that I've read where I'm like, I enjoyed 95% of this, but the last 5% was kind of like, okay. I don't know. I mean, this is the only ending to a book that I've ever helped write/written. It's not the only one I've outlined, but even in my completed outline for my work in progress, my quest novel, like, I have the big, like, evil is defeated thing, and I have, like, 2 characters that have to be reunited, but after that, I just kind of am like, okay, they live happily ever after? Question mark.
Yeah.
Right? I know.
Right. And until you actually, like, flesh out the chapters and do some actual writing, you don't necessarily know what little loose ends you'll want to be tying up. My ideal ending, just thinking about this from the perspective of, what would be the best kind of ending, right? So the best kind of ending would be the reader really truly does not know what's going to happen, how the main question will be resolved. They may suspect, well, I know the good guy's going to win here, right? But I don't see how that's possible until, like, the very last few pages. And then as soon as that gets resolved, you're out. Like, to me, that's a powerful ending, right?
Yeah. I'm trying to think. Now you're making me think, like, what books have I read where I really
book ends
enjoyed
that
the
way?
ending?
It's really hard to end it that way.
I think
It's
The Golden
really
Compass kind of ends that way.
The Golden Compass?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're like, Lord Asriel's acting kind of weird. What's up with that? Oh shit, Roger's dead. Bye.
Yeah, but it sort of leaves you hanging in terms of, oh, we just opened a brand new world and now we're not going to go in there.
Yeah, okay, well, our book is a first book, too. There's more things that happen.
Right, but even in a trilogy, I like each book to have its own resolution.
Yeah, well, the resolution of Lyra's story in that book, she was trying to save Roger and she failed. The Golden Compass really is not a book for a 6-year-old. I cannot believe you read it to me that young.
You loved it.
I did love it, but, like, it's dark as hell.
That's what gives you your dark streak.
Okay, so here's another book that I've read a bunch, so I remember how it ends. Is The Lightning Thief, the first book in the Percy Jackson series. It works similarly to how I want my quest book to end, where they've come back from their quest, and, questions have been answered, they saved some people, like, where they did the thing, but there's, like, an extra line in the prophecy that didn't really happen. Like, maybe it could have happened, but it's kind of questionable.
Mm-hmm.
and then there's one major plot twist, right? Like, you think it's winding down, and then boom, there's a major reveal. And then things do wind down. If that makes any sense. So it's like, interrupts that awkward winding down period, does like part of it in front of that,
Mm-hmm.
gets you really excited because you're like, ah, shit, I didn't expect that to happen. And then it's like,
And then you
alright,
turn the
see
page.
you next summer. So,
Yeah. So prophecy is a really good plot device for that. Like, if your plot is based around a prophecy, then you kind of have this promise that's going to be kept, but you don't know exactly how, but you do know whether it's happened yet or not.
and so every single one of those books, there's a prophecy for the specific quest, and there's always like the great prophecy that's looming over everything that's happening.
Here's a way not to end a portal fantasy. About half the Oz books. Do you remember reading those? About
I
half
don't know how.
About half the time, the way it ends. Well, I mean, once Dorothy sort of takes up residence in Oz, then we don't really have to get her back and forth at the end. But about half the time, the way the story ends is they throw some big banquet, and it's just like pages and pages of lists of characters.
Yeah.
And it's like, and the friendly tiger was sitting next to the cowardly lion, and they were eating Jell-O.
Listen, as a kid, I really enjoyed that.
I
though.
know.
'Cause I was like,
know.
I know him.
That's why it's there, and the author, I guess there's some question as to whether it was L. Frank Baum or his secretary that wrote those books, but anyway, the author, in their little notes in the front, is like, thank you for all your letters, and you've all requested to see this character again and that character again, and I think you'll be pleased by this book. Like, that's all in the foreword to each of these books, and then they end with some, like I say, some big gathering, and it's just listing all the characters. And they're not doing anything. There's no drama there. They're just
chilling.
there. They're just chilling. They're there living their lives.
Oh.
And I know that it was pleasing to the readers because the readers wanted to see those characters show up again and know that they were okay and everything like that. But it doesn't make for a very...
Gripping plot.
As an adult, I was so bored with those endings.
I only remember 2 of the Oz books.
When you read them, they come back to you because there's a lot of really weird stuff in there, and interesting images. And
Yeah,
things.
I only remember The Wizard of Oz and is it Ozma of Oz? Where
Probably.
she, with the chicken and her head.
Bill, yeah,
Yes.
the chicken, and
What's the rolly?
TikTok.
Yeah, TikTok, but the
Oh, the wheelies.
yeah. I only remember that one because that was the only other one we owned.
Well,
So it's the one I read the most times.
possibly, but that's the one I remember best from my childhood because it's the best one.
I think that's the reason that was the only one we owned.
Yeah, I mean, the others didn't live up. Just saying.
We have Oz opinion.
Odd opinions. All right.
Look.
Yeah, you drank your orange juice. Good for you.
I'm still trying to think of a book that I think ends
Like really well.
really well.
Hmm.
Like, yeah,
You think about the most.
satisfying. All of Shakespeare's comedies end with a wedding. Just a thing I'm throwing out there.
Could we end ours with a wedding?
And all of his tragedies end with everyone dead. No, all but one character, because that character has to go and tell the story. That's gross. Age gap of like so many years. We have a relative life experience. I veto that.
Okay.
I can't really think of one right now that like maybe because we read a bunch of young adult young adult series books, don't necessarily have to resolve everything up and then start anew next time.
That's
As much as
true. I'm
middle
more
grade
into
books do.
I'm more interested in how a middle grade book should end.
So, I mean,
Uh,
I don't want to bring up Harry Potter, but
Bring up Harry Potter. We love Harry Potter.
every book pretty much ends they don't always end with him going back to the train station, but the first one definitely does. And he's usually on the train or heading back to the Muggle world.
That's sort of the life back to normal part.
Mm-hmm.
The resolution of the actions before that.
Yeah, so there's always, defeated Voldemort, and then there's a chapter between, and then there's the going home chapter. No, it's always, defeated Voldemort, woke up in the hospital wing, going home. Defeated Voldemort's possessed diary. Hagrid comes back, and then they go home. Went back in time to save my godfather, made it back into the hospital wing before we got caught, train home, and got a letter from him. Cedric is dead. Dumbledore makes a speech, and then going home. Ooh, Voldemort's really back for real this time. Nobody can deny it. I'm gonna yell at Dumbledore in his office, going back home. Dumbledore's dead.
Spoilers!
It's been out for how many years now?
Yeah, but children of a certain age have
Children
not
aren't
yet
watching this.
experienced.
Children of a certain age aren't watching our videos.
I'm sorry, children. I'm sorry we spoiled your childhoods.
And then I don't even know what happens after that. They're all sad, and then I guess he goes home again. Epilogue. He's sending his children off on the train to Hogwarts. It's a very strange scene. Albus Severus is a terrible name for a child. Anyway.
You never came around to Snape.
I
That's
know
the
I
problem.
never came around to Snape. Snape literally would not have switched sides unless Lily had died. He only switched sides because he felt bad about getting one person killed because he loved her. He was just obsessed with her. Spent several years bullying all of his students. Did very little to help Harry ever. And then, was hey, I was in love with your mom. And Harry's like, you're the bravest man I've ever known. What? So we have not come up with a satisfying ending to our
Gosh, so I
discussion about endings.
I know what we need to ask for
What do we need to ask for
in the comments.
in the comments?
A book that you think has a really great ending.
You know, it has a good ending. It's not a book, but Avatar: The Last Airbender has a really great ending. This is kind of like what normal life is going to be like. They give you a little snapshot. You know everybody's going to be okay. And they're like, okay, bye. See you in Korra. It's a balance that's difficult for us because we want to see that all the background characters are back where they're supposed to be and are going to be good for the time being. But our main characters aren't sticking around. That's not their back to normal.
Right.
And so, since it doesn't directly affect them, it's trying to show back to normal from an outside perspective, I think.
And Macy's back to normal is not back to normal.
Yeah.
Because, right,
Our characters are not walking into a back to normal.
So Trent is.
No, they're not walking into a... You cannot bring a dead man back from the dead and call it walking back into normal.
That's true. But from Trent's perspective, it's basically, okay, my life got disrupted because my cousin moved in.
Well, he also, fully moved houses, so...
And he's in a new house. So, I mean, it's nobody's life is normal. When the book starts, I think we did this all wrong. Honestly, just...
No.
Disagree?
No.
No, I think we challenged ourselves. We set up a very challenging situation. And I think we got it. I think the beginning is good now. But yeah, for Macy, there's there is no back to normal, but she does in this chapter, in the very chapter that we're talking about, next to last chapter, she talks or thinks about getting a good night's sleep in her bed. And for a moment, she goes back to the bed in her original house that burned down, and she's like, that doesn't exist anymore. And she says to herself, well, maybe after the craziness of Ethermore, her aunt and uncle's house will feel home-like enough. And I think that's as far as we could bring Macy.
Yeah.
Right? So the reader knows, okay, well, she's at least at a point where she doesn't feel like she's going back to a place where she totally doesn't want to be, but back to a place that she could conceivably turn into a home for herself.
Yeah, so at the very beginning she's not even acknowledging the fact that she should be trying to make this her new home. She refuses to eat meals with her family.
Right.
And gets caught up in all of this Ethermore mystery because she's desperate for something.
Just
different.
Doesn't want to be where she's at all.
Yeah.
Just acknowledging that it could be home-like
Yeah.
is progress for her. I think we do a really good job of sort of gradually bringing Macy along and Macy and Trent's relationship along, and now we're sort of seeing the result in this chapter.
After everything that's happened in Ethermore, she views Trent as on her side, which
Yes.
previously when she was in the home, it was her versus the rest of her family. And now that she views Trent as on her side, it's going to be a lot easier for her to adapt into her new life.
Well, see, I think Trent and grandfather will get along really well because Trent's kind of geeky and sciencey,
Yeah.
and Macy will be like, hey, I fetched him. I saved him.
Yeah,
I wanted him to be my family.
They will have, he and Macy will be able to bond over things, but I think because she wants to learn about, her mom from him, and he would still be, he's one step behind her grieving that loss. So I feel like she expects to be able to connect on that right away.
And he may bury himself. I think he would bury himself in a project.
Yeah.
Immediately,
Which...
oh, we gotta fix this.
Yeah, which then gives him more of a reason to connect to Trent, which would make her jealous. And
We're supposed to be talking about the ending of this book, man. How do we get into the next book?
Well, okay, because I think that keeping in mind these things...
We're setting it all up.
We're setting all of these things up. And so...
Yeah, but I think it's very natural. It's not like we have to think ahead to know what to do in this book. Because naturally what we want in this book is they end as a team. And then we're going to mess with that later, but, that's...
Yeah.
We don't need to know that.
So,
Just need to know that we're
okay,
ending
so
as a team.
the end as a team, I feel like it's Team Trent and Macy. Cheese Mouse is definitely on that team. So is Tom Bone. They've lost 2 players. Is there anyone else that you would say? Tinkerbell is joins late in the game, but there's that moment where they all
And
bonus
Sparky.
wish, recharge, and Sparky, right? So those are the characters who are really important, are the members of Macy's team, the people that she will turn to when she comes back to Ethermore, right? And it's important to see that the Sparkly Pink Fairy Princess Land characters all get back to where they belong, but relationship-wise and focus-wise, I think we need to know, in Oz, what are these characters that we really care about? What are they doing at the end? Where should we expect to see them again if we see them again? Right? I mean, at the end of the Oz books, you always hear, oh, this character found a home here, and this character found a home here.
Right.
Right? Which you were talking about being tedious, but then it does, tell you, if you
It's
are
like
reading...
putting your toys away at the end of a play session.
Yeah, but if you're reading the next book and they're like, we gotta go here, and you're like, last time, the horse ended up here. They're gonna go here, and maybe they'll run into the horse, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that, where you're giving the audience clues for the future.
Mm.
It's like, yeah.
Do you mean the hobby horse or the sawhorse?
Sawhorse?
Can I give a shout out to
Yeah.
one of our viewers?
Sure.
I want to give a shout out to my mom. Hi, Mom!
Hi, Grandma.
She's in her 80s and she is not technologically savvy. And we spent so much time on the phone because social distancing, we haven't been going over there. So we spent a lot of time on the phone trying to teach her how to access these videos on her phone so she could watch. So hopefully she's watching this right now. And I want to say congratulations, good job, you did it. And hi, and hope everything's going well over there. All right, so that's my shout out to my mom. You gotta leave that in.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to ruthlessly cut out your kind words to my grandmother.
If you like this video and you want to keep following us on our writing journey, remember to click that subscribe button and ring that bell icon so that you can be notified whenever we upload a new video. Why are you laughing at me?
Because, Mom, that means you have to have an account, so we'll work on that with you. So that you can click the bell and everything.
Remember to comment down below and tell us what's a book with an ending that you thought was real good.
Real good.
Well written. Satisfying to the reader.
Let's hear about a super good ending of a book. And hey, if you recommend a book that has a great ending, we'll try to, well, the library's closed, but we'll try to read it at some point. We'll get a ebook. Yeah, we'll read it and we'll comment. And we'll let you know whether you were right or not.
We will be back with, oh my god. We will be back next week with another video, but until then, remember. We will be back next week with another video, but until then, remember.
Two heads are better than one. We did it! That's a good one.